Hi, I'm Shirin Merchant and we're back with our next round of ASKSHIRIN. We've had such an amazing response this time and you all keep sending in your questions. So we haven't been able to answer all of them, and this is little Maya. Maya, say hi to the camera. Alright, Maya's come to check out what I'm doing. So we haven't been able to answer everybody this time, but I've split it up into 2 videos. So if I haven't answered your questions in this video, wait for the next one and it's likely to be answered there. The first question we'll look at is from Alka Paul, and Alka writes in, when we take our 5-year-old Simba, English Cocker Spaniel, for a walk, he is normally calm, but the moment he sees another dog on the road, he pulls us towards the dog. How do we stop the behavior? Well, Alka, I'm presuming, since that's all you've written, that once your dog gets to the other dog, he's not being aggressive, so he's not really pulling you to have a fight with another dog. He's probably just doing it to either say hello or to have a game. This problem is normally created by us humans because when we take our dogs out for walks, we allow them to think that every other dog on the road is a friend and we have to go and say hello. So your dog gets it into his mind that every dog is free game to say hello to. And if you then try to pull him away from a certain dog, he'll lean into it and he'll pull and he'll want to get to the other dog. This is also sometimes created by the fact that the walks that we take with our dogs are just so boring for our dogs. So the only fun they get to have is when they see another dog and they get to probably play with that dog. You can correct this by trying to be more fun on your walk with your own dog. Carry some treats, carry some toys, periodically stop the walk and have a little game or do a little practice of some training. So your dog feels very entertained and very engaged with you throughout the walk. Then you can use that fun to tell the dog when he sees another dog that, hey, look at me, we'll have some fun together, leave that other dog alone. So if you practice this for a bit of time, you should be able to get to a point where you have that control, where you can tell Simba that you are more fun to play with on a walk and not another dog. The next question we look at is from Jenny Fiona, and she writes, our golden retriever turned 4 this May. He is not trained, but he listens to my dad when he's around. He does not listen to any of us and he has a habit of biting. He doesn't hurt us, but he waits for his chance and then nips. My question is it possible to train him now, with or without a trainer? We can't even take him for a walk anywhere without a leash, and I feel bad about this. Well, Jenny, your problem is created by the fact that we are very inconsistent when telling our dogs what we really want from them. So sometimes we insist on good behavior, sometimes we allow them to get away with bad behavior, and in the bargain you end up with a dog who's just thoroughly confused about how he should be behaving. The reason he probably behaves with your father and not with anybody else is your dad probably enforces the rules with the dog, and most of you otherwise at home are pushovers. So your dog has learned who he can bully and get away with being disobedient around and who he just has to listen to. Of course you can train your dog at 4 years of age. You can train a dog at any time as long as your methods are good and positive. So you must encourage and teach your dog from now on the rules as they are in black and white. Unfortunately now all you've been doing is shades of grey in between, so he's confused. The next time your dog tries to jump or mouth you, make sure he's on a long line or a leash and use that to firmly control him with a firm no. And remember, if you say no and your dog continues doing it, your no hasn't been strong enough. It's not about how loud you are, it's about how firm the tone of voice should be. The next question we look at is from Reshma, and she writes, I have 2 dogs from a rescue center. One is a lab and one is an Indian Spitz. The Labrador is perfect, but it's the Spitz who is naughty. She passes urine and stool in the bedroom at night and then wakes me up to inform me of her deed. During the day she's always in the garden, but at night, never. I've tried negative reinforcement, but of no use. She understands my language very well, and as a matter of fact, when I ask her to relieve herself outside at night, she argues with me and then does the job in the room only. Well, Reshma, it sounds like you've gone and adopted a very clever dog. Here's what it sounds like to me. But with any toilet training issue, the first thing you need to do is go to your vet and get it checked. See that there is no underlying health issue that could be causing your dog to do this. So what could the health issue be? Sometimes the long period at night is too much for a dog, maybe with a burdened kidney, to try and hold on through the night. So she could be doing it for that reason. Your best bet is to go to the vet and get that ruled out. To me, this somehow sounds like a little bit of an attention-seeking issue. What your dog has realized is it's a great way to toilet in the room and get that attention in the middle of the night by waking you up. You've probably in the past been very animated either by shouting at your dog and saying, "Who did all this? What have you done? It's in the middle of the night. I have to clean this mess." So your dog thinks this is a great way to wake you up and play a game, to get your attention, to get you to interact with the dog, to get you to wake up and be up for a while. So this has started to become a habit. And I know at this point you're going to stop me and say, "But I shout at my dog. I tell him, 'Bad dog.' So how could this be attention?" The one thing you need to understand with any attention-seeking problem in a dog, when a dog wants attention, negative attention is better than none. So the dog would rather even have you shout, maybe even give a little whack, and interact with it than be sleeping. So what's the solution to this? It sounds like your dog's pretty much in control here and not you. So my suggestion is, as late as you can before you turn in for the night, take your dog out into your garden and get it to toilet. When he does toilet, make sure you give him tons of attention for it. Be very animated and lots of voice and hands and all of that. So it becomes very rewarding for the dog to toilet in the garden. At night, if your dog toilets in the room and tries to wake you up, my suggestion is to continue sleeping. Wake up only in the morning and make sure your dog's left the room before you clean up the mess. It might take a couple of nights for your dog to understand that he no longer gets attention in the night for toileting in the room, but he gets a lot of attention for toileting in the garden. So if you try this and you're consistent, you should see a change in a few days. The next question is from Angela, and Angela writes, "My 6-month-old pup will obey only when treats are offered, but when no treat, Chico no listen." Okay, Angela, Chico is typical of most dogs. The thing is, we human beings sometimes seem to ask for too much. We think we start off our training with food, and once the dog has learned what to do, we just stop all rewards and we expect the dog to listen. My point here is, no living creature would work without a reward. So how do you work towards getting Chico to listen to you even when there's no food in your hand? To begin with, you need to understand the principle that no matter what, Chico must get some reward for listening to you. But it doesn't mean that the reward has to be always advertised in advance. So this is how I would work it out. When I'm training the dog, the first few sessions that we've complete, once the dog's understood what to do, so say I'm teaching my dog how to sit. Every time I ask the dog to sit, I'll give her a little treat of food maybe. Once she's understood what the sit command is, in my next training session, this is the secret of what you have to do. Start by giving her 4 treats every time she does something. So I'd ask her to do 4 sits, and every time she can see there's food in my hand, and I'll give her a treat. Once 4 repetitions are done, I'm going to have nothing in my hand. But here's the secret. You're going to have food somewhere around you. It could be hidden on a counter next to you. It could be hidden behind in your pocket. Your dog doesn't know it's there, but you've got it. Now ask your dog to do another sit. Make sure he sees you've got nothing. But because he's done 4 sits just a few seconds ago, he's likely to obey. As soon as he obeys, give a lot of love and praise. What a good dog, good love, all of that. And then produce the treat from wherever it was hidden. Here's where your dog will be surprised. You'd say, "I didn't see it, but I still got it." And now work towards that principle where you tell your dog, you won't see it, but you will get it. If you get to that stage, Chico's going to listen to you whether or not you have food in your hand. Give it a try. The next question is from the Basmita Mahanand, and she has a Labrador, 2 years old, and she has quite a few questions. The first one is, my dog doesn't bark at all. She barks when she's dreaming, in which she seems to be running a marathon in her dreams. We try to tempt her by showing her a favorite treat or chicken and not giving it to her, but all she does is drool like a Labrador would, or paw at us, but she'd never bark. Okay, it's really quite simple. This is a Labrador. Labradors were never really bred to bark a lot. You can teach your dog to bark by putting it on a command, but be careful, because once you teach barking, your dog's likely to be barking a lot more and all your peace and sanity might disappear. So be careful when teaching this command. Here's what you do. Wait and see when your dog would bark naturally. So you have mentioned that she must have barked about 6 to 8 times in her life. So what were those 6 to 8 times that caused her to bark? Was she excited? Was it when someone came home? Is it because she saw another dog? Was it because there was another dog barking? Remember this, most dogs are likely to vocalize when they are excited or when they're frustrated. See which situations would cause her that. So frustration could be something as simple as delaying taking her for a walk. Is she getting excited and she tries to vocalize? Remember, even the slightest vocalization, which would be a little reward that. Eventually build up into a bark. Another easy way to teach your dog to bark is get another dog along who does bark a lot on a command. Most dogs, when they see another dog barking, do follow suit. So give that a try. But remember, if your Labrador hasn't really barked, it's not that big a deal. It's just, maybe she's just a quiet dog. I mean, and there are tons of people out there who'd want a dog like this. So appreciate her for what she is. Your next question is, she's scared of a few things like the whistle of the pressure cooker, thunder, and even when it's a little too windy, she gets so scared she tries to shiver and hide under our legs or sit on our laps, and we hold her close and we cover her eyes with our hands, which seems to comfort her a little. How do I make it better and make her unafraid of these things? Well, if your dog is already 2 years old, it's difficult to reverse the process fully. But here's what you can do. Most of us, when we see our dogs frightened of certain things, tend to also behave nervously. And the dog then feeds off our nervous behavior. So what we do is we see our dog getting scared and we go, oh my God, are you scared? Oh, you poor thing. Oh my God, it's okay, don't be scared, don't be scared. And your dog looks at you and he says, my God, she's really scared about this. And then the two of you feed off each other's behavior. Here's what you can do. When you see a situation where your dog's likely to be scared, how about behaving happy? How about behaving like you love the sound of the pressure cooker whistle? How about behaving like you love the wind? All of that. If your dog sees that you're relaxed, you're pretty happy about the situation, it might rub off a bit onto your dog. What can also help at this time is to distract your dog. Don't let her dwell on the fear, because it'll just build into her. Oh my God, it's the cooker whistle and it's coming, and it's, oh God, it's going on. And it can build inside of her. So what you do is distract her. Take out a toy and start playing a game with her. Get her out of that stage of fear. But be careful if you're using food at this stage that you don't feed a dog when it's being frightened. Wait for her to be a little less frightened and use the food to distract her into doing other things, and then reward her for that. So give that a try. Your last question is it possible for her to learn a few more commands at this age? She understands basic commands. Remember, this is a 2-year-old dog, but I want to teach her more things. Of course, you can teach a dog at any age to do anything. The first dog I trained for assist dog work in India, so she was India's first assistance dog. She was 7 years old. She was my little Labrador Honey. And I'd adopted her about 6 months before I started her training. So I got her home only at the age of 6.5 years. And in 6 months, I managed to train her completely to do assistance dog work. Remember, as long as your methods are good, they're positive, they're reward-based, you're not hurting the dog, not using choke chains, you're not hitting. Remember, dogs love to learn. Their mind is forever wanting to learn. And you can channel that by teaching the dog fun and interesting things. This is something all dogs would love to do. So never hesitate to train a dog, no matter how old your dog is. And with that, we come to an end of today's Ask Shirin. Remember, next week, we're going to have another session where we'd answer a lot more of your questions that were posted. So please do keep writing in, and we're going to try and keep answering your questions as soon as we possibly can. So thank you for being a part of this. Do check us out on our social media, because that's where we run these contests where you can ask your questions. So thank you again, and keep having fun with your dogs.